Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new show with me. I'm your host, Drew, and here's my best friend, confidant for life, the man that makes me a better friend, the best looking Spencer I know, since he's the only Spencer I know. Everyone give a hand to Spencer Fennel as he comes into the chat.
I have arrived. I'm here. I'm in the chat.
So
that's a crazy opener, man.
Thank you. Cheers to that. I got to start strong. But for those that don't know, we're going to be doing a new show where basically we have a live chat about current things in the world, maybe our opinions on stuff. Maybe we have a segment where we just talk about a subject or a topic, and really just having a moment where we can talk about what's going on. And I figured Spencer would be a great person for this. So let's just get right down it. But before we do that, if you love what we're doing, if you enjoy it, please comment below with anything that you see or enjoy. Tell us if you want us to cover any news stories. We'd love to be a part of that and love to have you guys a part of it. So anyways, Spencer, take us away. What are we starting off with?
Yeah, so you can't make this stuff up. Where to go? So I want to show you guys something.
Okay.
that I found. So RFK's in the news again.
What a shock.
What a shocker. I actually closed that tab, Drew. I thought you were doing that one. So RFK's in the news again. And
the news is
RFK,
so good you had to close the tab.
Yo, it was wild. So let's go ahead and let's open up some of these news stories. So he's been accused of being, I want to make sure I don't misquote this, a danger beyond dangerous as the health secretary of the United States by the New York Times. And at this point, doesn't it feel like elder abuse? we're beating an old man to death. His reputation, his sense of life, I would go that far to say. And so just the news that comes out about this guy is insane. Ever since President-elect Donald Trump announced that he would be the lead in the Department of Health. And a couple things that I just want to bring up about his policies. And this is something that's actually happened in the majority of Europe, and we're behind it. Mm-hmm. The general rule is if it happens in Europe, expect it to happen in America in about 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been in Europe a thing for almost 5, and RFK is looking to bring it to America. So ABC News reports this. Kennedy has vowed to crack down on dyes in the food industry and to reduce pesticides in farm and agriculture industry. He has called for restrictions on ultra-processed foods as part of an initiative to address high rates of caloric disease in the United States of America. And he said more research needs to be conducted on vaccines. Now, I don't understand, and maybe you can just comment on this, Drew. Why are we wanting to eat? Why are we wanting to consume dyes in our food when the whole of Europe has agreed that this is a terrible idea? Why is this man being so vilified?
Because I prefer to have my food mostly colorized. That makes me feel.
You like red 40, don't you?
I prefer red 40 or red 38 in my chicken.
You wake up in the morning and you're like, man, I could do with some red 40.
I mean, I wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy with my red 40. I'm gonna hit
with the baby oil. With the baby oil.
I'm not Diddy. Hey, come on.
Hey, you're close. You're getting there. But
yeah,
I mean, I look at this stuff and I'm like, Drew, this is insanity. Why are we trying to take down an old man? He's just trying to make you want to eat McDonald's the rest of your life?
So you want to hear a funny story? Actually, I just thought about this right now.
Go for it.
I remember when I was a junior, I was in some advanced classes at school, and there was they were having us do a story in psychology about poor people and the plight of poor people in Florida, which is ironic because I was living in Florida at the time. I'm still living in Florida.
You still are? What are you talking about? You're still in Florida, brother.
It's been a long day, man. So, they were talking about the plight of poor people, specifically in Immokalee, Florida. And I mean, you know this because you lived in Florida. Immokalee is one of the rougher areas, not like in a sense of there's gang violence, but it's naturally one of the bigger farming areas.
No.
Not a lot of money goes in. A lot of money comes out. There's been families from the 60s that moved in there, and they've been farming for years, generations of farmers.
Yep.
Well, in the story, it was following a lady who she was so annoyed because she said that she didn't have enough money to, feed her kids. But she was feeding her kids McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she was like, I forget exactly what she said, but she's like, I hate the fact that my kids are fat.
Okay, can I just suggest something to you? Stop feeding them McDonald's. I'm not a skinny person. I've lost a lot of weight, but I'm not a skinny person.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I did to my diet was stop eating McDonald's. That was the first thing I did. Second thing I did, I went to the gym. Okay, simple problem, simple solutions. You don't want your kids to be fat. Take them to the gym and stop buying McDonald's.
So when you first said that, I accidentally misheard. The first thing I did to help my thighs.
Hey, thick thighs save lives.
Thick thighs save lives. Cheers to that.
Thighs save lives. And hey, that's what I've got. Don't spit take right now. We're not there in the show yet. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, I get it to some extent. Obviously, like it's easy to just go out and get fast food, but I mean, you and I both know, like we lived on our own for many years. Like,
right,
making your own food's cheaper all the time. Mm-hmm. It's just more annoying. Like no one likes to do it, but it is way cheaper.
Yeah. The biggest thing that strikes me about this news story is the verbiage that's used, even in just the portion that I read. Vowed to crack down. That sounds more like a dictator than a health secretary. The department head of health is RFK. That's who Donald Trump has picked, and they're already in the verbiage that's being used, presenting him in such a way that honestly, it's really hard to see an unbiased view here. The article continues, and we'll link it in the description for you to read in its entirety. Incredibly interesting article, different perspective on that specific thing. The RFK situation is sad to me. I've got grandparents. Okay, everybody's got grandparents somewhere.
I think a lot of people have grandparents.
But if my grandparents were attacked like this, I'd start swinging. You know
what's the funniest thing? So I have this is not a plug for Ground News, but I do have a subscription to Ground News, and it shows all the the headlines from other news stories.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned before recording this, that you're going to talk about this this news story, I wanted to look up what all the places say, so I'm going to just show everyone. Michael Bloomberg says putting RFK in charge of vaccines would be a medical malpractice. And it gets better. It poses a risk to the Atlanta-based health agency.
The CDC saying that. That's insane.
Yeah, because we trust
the former director. That's crazy.
RFK would be beyond dangerous as the head. A few of these things say beyond dangerous. Sanitizing a paranoid crank.
Because that's what he is.
Oh, man.
Listen, the guy had a worm in his brain.
Wait, he actually had a worm in his brain?
I don't know. I think that's... I don't know. Let's just hear it. I just heard it. I heard it somewhere. I'll find the source, I swear. We'll post it.
What I find even funnier is that you promote a guy that's to the head of the Department of Health, who sounds like a smoker.
Been smoking for 55 years, Drew Lang.
So I thought when I first heard his voice, I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought that actually it wasn't how he sounded.
No, that's how he sounds. Do we have a clip of him speaking? Just a 5. Can we get a clip of him talking? Oh my goodness, pull it up. It's too much.
Let me see what I can do.
It's too much. He's a freaking smoker. I don't think he actually is. I think he's had some health issues, but I look at this man and I think to myself, hey, that's the health secretary.
That's the health secretary.
That's who got picked. That's what we got to deal with right here. And he is a 55-year-old smoker. He's probably older than that.
All right.
Why do we have such old people in office, man? That's crazy.
I got a clip for you. All right, you ready for this?
Play the clip.
All right. So let me just share my screen so I can.
This journey as a Democrat, the party of my father, the party which I pledged my own allegiance to long before I was
my own allegiance to.
Is it bad that we're making
wait.
for the way
Hold
he
on.
sounds?
Hold on. Chocolate. I remember when they first invented chocolate. You can't make this stuff up, bro.
And here's the sad reality.
Convict us of elder abuse. Just do it.
It's elder abuse, but how much actual power does he have? I don't know. I'm not saying this because I think he has none. I actually don't know. But people act like he's like the next dictator. It's like
Yeah.
the health secretary, guys. Come on.
Well, since Donald Trump is the president-elect, democracy ends. That's what they're saying. That's
Yeah,
what
people say he's the
saying.
mustache man.
He's the mustache man. We can't say that word because YouTube. But
I will say what's even funnier though is how they're saying that he's the mustache man for like months on end, and then he wins, and they're like, oh, he's great. Support him entirely.
Don't shut us down.
It's like if he's actually the mustache man, y'all wouldn't be saying that.
That is screaming, don't shut us down. Please
Yeah,
don't shut us down,
seriously.
please. Please don't do it.
Blink if you're not safe, please.
Blink twice if you're okay. 3 times if you need help. I couldn't tell if that was 4. Can you do it again? Oh my goodness. And that's the news there, but we've got another story. Drew.
Okay. Let's go.
Look at this photo. They're best friends right here.
They're so happy
Do you see
together.
that? Yeah, they're coming in for a warm embrace right there.
Before you continue, I just talked to someone from Canada yesterday, and I was like, "How do you feel about Trudeau?" And they're like, "Who?"
Such a big state. You never know. Okay, let's get into the story.
Yeah.
Trump wants to annex Canada? ? I found this news story, and I thought it was wild.
It sounds fake.
It's not. It doesn't look like it is. Let's just read it. Ottawa. President-elect Donald Trump cracked an old joke about annexing Canada, and Ottawa is still trying to figure out if it was meant to be funny.
So wait, a city is trying to figure out collectively if a joke was funny?
No, true. Ottawa's just a province. Ottawa's the capital.
Oh, God. I don't know what Canada is.
True. Ottawa's the capital. I'm pretty sure Ottawa's the capital. Fact check me. I don't care. But I'm pretty sure that's the capital.
Yo, I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. I'm in the States. I don't live in Canada.
Honestly, I think I only know that because I have Canadian students in the youth ministry. And every time I make a Canada joke, I walk on thin ice for a month. So I've made jokes in front of Canadians, and let me tell you something. They'll put down the maple syrup and throw a punch.
It doesn't land well, eh?
Oh, no, eh? So, Canada, as the 51st state, is occasionally a topic. You like that? Little We're going to war for this one again, buddy.
We're gonna make
Second
the
time's the
state
charm.
as big as all the other states.
Second time's a charm. 51st state is occasionally a topic of conversation on both sides of the border. Source: The Simpsons. Once dubbed his northern neighbor America Junior.
This is
I like this writer. No, I like this writer. He had some jokes to it. Now, all of this happened, and we'll link the article. We'll summary from here. But all of this basically happened when Trudeau, because I think that's how you say it. Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago, and Donald Trump had cracked a joke, and now people are reporting it because if the president breathes different, it's funny. And if the current president stopped breathing, it would also be funny.
You're not wrong there.
He's a corpse, bro. He's a corpse.
Oh, man. My favorite Joe Biden line ever is when he's like explaining something from his past, and he's like, we used to have a saying back in America, back when I was growing up, and that saying is,
yeah, doesn't English, please. But this is the news story, and wow, it's something else.
Spencer, do you want Canada as a state?
No.
Why? What do you have?
It's
against
Arctic
Canada?
wastes for 80% of the country, and I think 90% lives below a certain line, like from Michigan. I don't know my states. I don't know. I'm from Florida, so it's like this. There's a line. Hey, the best state. There's a line there that like 80 to 90% of people live on. So we just need that part of Canada, and we're good.
Okay.
Maybe you'll take Newfoundland too. Vancouver's pretty cool.
Newfoundland.
There's the Raptors in the Toronto. Huh?
Newfoundland or Newfoundland?
I don't think you just talked English to me.
Is it Newfoundland or Newfoundland?
Newfoundland?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not.
I'm not Canadian. I don't know the territory.
I'm not Canadian.
Is it a territory? Or is that considered a territory? I don't know. I'm an American.
It is interesting how there's a lot of Canadians in America.
There is a lot, isn't there?
I'm not saying that there's a reason. I just think it's funny.
Well, when this gentleman first got elected, Trudeau, he said, "We're not going to take your guns. It's a cultural thing in Canada. We're not going to take any of your guns." And then later on, proceeded to ban weapons that he did not like. So,
and then
there's always that.
It's okay if you have the Mounties guarding you.
Listen, I'm convinced of this. Canada is like Russia. You never invade during winter.
That is true.
We lost when we invaded Canada during winter.
Did we really lose, or did we just stop trying?
I would argue we lost, actually, but if you want to go a different way, hey,
yeah,
that's all for you, man.
The French and Indian War was a thing.
It was a thing.
It was a thing.
Almost
Most people don't know about it, but it was a thing.
200 years ago? 1800s?
No, I think the French and Indian War was before that, because that we were a colony of England at that time.
1776.
Yeah, psych, jerk.
So I know that happened after that. So
yeah,
I don't know history,
apparently
man.
Canada will be a state.
It will. Donald Trump has his way. He will have Canada.
I wonder how. So I'm actually like asking a genuine question. How do you think other countries feel about having Trump as our president? Because we're both American, we have opinions, but what do you think other people feel about us?
I think they should feel afraid. Because I'm an American and I don't know what this guy's going to do, but I hope it's better than Biden.
I know he's going to do one thing. He's going to build the wall.
Maybe he actually will this time.
What if he
just
starts building walls just around every country?
Everybody gets a Great Wall of
Everyone
China. You get a Great Wall. You get a Great Wall. You get a Great Wall. America gets a Great Wall.
He becomes the next Oprah of Great Walls.
The Oprah Winfrey of Great Walls. You get a wall. You get a wall. You get a wall.
God.
Everybody gets a wall.
We're so messed up. This is a great first episode.
Hey, Maximum effort.
Maximum effort. Maximum effort.
Maximum effort. That's all you could ask for.
So it is interesting though. He did get elected. I did think that. So I'm gonna like take you to where I was on election night because I had a feeling that Trump would win. I do a lot of, for those that don't know, I do a lot of trying to research on both sides so that I at least have an unbiased opinion. So I listen to as much of both sides of news as possible and try to find unbiased sources. And I thought he would win. I'm shocked he got the popular vote personally.
Right.
I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, I was watching the election. I knew he won after Pennsylvania was called. I think it was called a little too late. When I was watching, I was just sitting there like 80% of the votes counted. Trump's in the lead. 90% is counted. Trump's in the lead. 95% counted. Trump's still in the lead. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
And then they still didn't call it. And I was like, guys, come on.
So
I went to bed when they called it. I woke up and he had the popular vote, which I was also very shocked by.
Yeah.
A Republican has not won the popular vote this century, from 2000 onward.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because it seems like the Republican Party is less of the old Republican Party, and it's more of just I don't want to say like the party for everyone, but it's kind of become that way. Especially if you look at, you got guys like RFK, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, a part of it, who were lifelong Democrats, always voted Democrat, were never Republican.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But then also, it seems like a lot of their policy is more focusing on the good of America and not just the constituents of the Republican Party. How do you live in California? I live in Florida. So obviously Florida was pro-Trump all the way. What was it like in California? I'm curious about this.
Well, I live in a very rural part of California. I won't say the city because I don't want to get stalked. But
yeah.
And in this specific part of California, it's rural, it's country, and you better believe they voted Republican. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
A little bit farther away from me is a major city, and there was talk about going there in a big pickup truck with a Trump flag the day before Election Day, or on Election Day, I think is what we said. But then we realized we had to work that day at the church. So I was like, man, you can't do it.
That's what it is.
Yeah. The general atmosphere of California is still very much liberal. It's a supermajority for a reason. It's a supermajority in the state capital. The governor is a Democrat, Newsom. And what you see is in the parts of California that are big city, mostly coastal cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, they will almost always lean blue. And that's true for most of the country. If you go up in our states to Washington, Oregon, Seattle, very blue. The rest of the state, not so much. Even in Florida, if you look at the election map, Miami historically has been very blue.
Yeah, and they weren't.
New York, very blue.
Yep.
Boston, very blue. And that's why there's a saying, there is no blue states. There's blue cities. And blue cities win states.
Yeah.
So luckily we had a good turnout for the Republican Party. I myself am a Republican.
Yeah, I don't actually know what I am. I probably classify myself as more of a centrist.
Right.
Because, I mean, I voted Republican the few times that I have voted, but sometimes it's not even really that I voted because I believed in the guy that I was voting for, and more of like I really did not believe in the other person.
I will always choose to pick the lesser of the two evils because neither is going to be perfect or represent my view 100%. But when I look at the issue, I'm not a single issue voter. I vote on a variety of issues. Yeah. And I just want to go towards the one that represents those issues for me the best. And that's what every American should do. Not a single issue, not just a handful, the ones that affect your life.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
And so I will vote based off of those issues primarily. The grand scheme of the things. How is it going to make not just my life better if I vote for this person, but the lives of my fellow Americans. And I vote for the good of all, not the good of myself.
Did you see? I'm trying to find it. I noticed that as things kept going, it seemed like the Democratic side became more patronizing, as it seemed like they were losing more and more. Did you see the Harris Walls?
Which one? Tell me which one.
the policy suggestion for black people?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen this at all?
No.
Oh, bro, I'm gonna.
I saw the Obama clip. The Obama clip I thought was hilarious. He's telling other African American men, if you don't vote for Kamala, you're sexist and racist.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, hit it.
Okay, let me get a better photo. Hold on a second.
Get the photo. Do whatever you got to do. But no, I think that it's very interesting that as the election went on and the polls started to reflect more of a Trump lead, even though historically Trump has been underpolled in the last two elections and overperformed, with the exception of the debacle in 2020.
Yeah.
So I guess 2 out of the 3 times he was underpolled.
You ready for this? So
Yep.
So as this came out, I think like 2 or 3 weeks before the election, this was like right. We're starting to get a sense that maybe she might be not as popular as people think that she is, and
just maybe.
And this is like right after Obama did his whole like patronizing to black men.
Yeah.
So then they released this, and this is the agenda for black men. Provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable up to $20,000 for black entrepreneurs and only black entrepreneurs, which is
racist
and controversial. And then support education, training, and membership programs that lead to good paying jobs for black men, including pathways to become teachers. Cool. I like that.
I do.
Promote cryptocurrency investment so black men can make themselves sure that their money is safe. Launch a national health initiative focused on illness that disproportionately impact black men. I think, are there illnesses that only affect black people and not white people?
I couldn't tell you. I thought we were all human. I thought we were all humans.
For her policy for black men, legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this new industry.
That is insulting to the African American community. Are you serious?
That's a real.
You want to just legalize marijuana?
That's recreationally a real policy that they actually posted and doubled down on.
Wow.
You didn't
That's
see
crazy. No. I didn't care enough to look up Kamala's campaign, I'll be honest with you. I just knew that I didn't want it. I knew it was going to be 4 more years of Biden, and I wasn't ready for that.
No, I get that. But when I saw that, I was like, that's the most patronizing thing I've ever heard from a politician ever.
Dude, that's insane.
I mean,
that's crazy.
More than just black people like weed. Come on.
Hey, Florida voted no. Florida voted no, baby. Wait, did they voted no for that, right? And then no on an abortion?
They did vote. Well, here's where it's weird. They had a majority on the abortion bill, but for an amendment to pass, it needs 60%, and they didn't get that.
Yeah. If you're going to amend the state's constitution, it requires that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious about your opinion on this. I had
the Constitution of America requires more than that too. Requires 3/4 majority to amend the Constitution.
Yes, and
America,
that's a good rule,
which is more than 60%, which is more like 75%.
So the funny thing is, I had a conversation with some people after that because they were frustrated that the abortion bill didn't pass, even though it had a majority. And I don't think that they realized the importance of not having everything just go to a majority, but that there needs to be a supermajority just to change the Constitution. Because if not, you would have the craziest things just get elected. Like, to make a constitutional change, it better be really important, you know?
You want my opinion on a constitution change?
Yeah,
I think it should be one of the most difficult things to do
I agree.
in American government, because you're not just legislating for your generation, you're legislating for future generations.
Yeah,
And the future generations' welfare is dependent on the mob's grace in the moment.
yeah,
Okay, like asbestos was used for home installations. They thought that was no, listen, there's like they thought that was a good idea.
Hmm.
Imagine if that was legislative and then you find out it's not a good idea and you're screwed and you're stuck in that same spot because you've legislated something harmful.
yeah. And
What if culture changes in the next 5 to 10 years where you know something happens or whatever and it no longer becomes or it comes out to be a net negative? You've backed yourself into a legislative corner and then you need another supermajority to change it, or a simple majority to change it.
there are some things that in some ways need to be inefficient, and one of them should be making any alteration to the Constitution, because then if it's inefficient, it takes more effort and more work to make the change, which theoretically means you have to really debate the idea more, really put it out there more, put more of it,
100%.
more money, more effort. If things were easy to change and our Constitution was easy to change, we'd have some real structural issues overall.
You find yourself facing a real issue of changing to the whims and not the situation or the circumstance, but just on what it becomes is mob rule.
Yeah.
51%, you can change anything in this country. Does that sound like a good idea, especially given the vote for Republicans where they got the majority of votes this year? No.
Well,
No.
and
If you're a Democrat, you're like, oh man, we need to keep the Electoral College because the Republicans just got the majority vote,
dude,
the popular vote.
I was about to
right?
just say that. Like,
The Electoral College is for the protection of the American citizen. The reason why we have such stringent rules on who can vote and vote in these elections is because the voting integrity of American democracy, constitutional republic, however you want to say it, but it matters. It matters.
yeah. You know what I find funny though? Every single time there's an election where someone wins, it wins
The popular
but doesn't win
vote.
the popular.
But
Every
loses the
time.
electoral, yeah.
We gotta get rid of the Electoral College, but it switches every time.
Yeah. But guess what? They're going to complain about both now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to pin it on a people group. They're going to pin it on. This is the way that identity politics works, not just for Republicans or Democrats. You know, this is bipartisan. This is identity politics, not about a Republican, not about a Democrat. But you blame a certain people group, you get everybody rallied against that people group. In this election, it seemed to be uneducated college women who voted for Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
That seemed to be the people group that was getting targeted the most, in my view, post-election.
So the other thing about it too is, realistically, if you think about it, the one thing that these last 4 years have shown is that the head guy could not mentally be there, and the country still runs. Mm-hmm. So the real question is how much does a president change? And I personally have never been a fan of people that they lose their mind because their guy won or lost, and it's like, you do realize that if things are not the way that you want them to be in 4 years, A, you can change them. B, realistically, how much power do they really have? They have power, but how much?
Right. The power of the president is balanced with the other two branches of government.
Yeah.
And it was made that way so that a president could not become a dictator. The Founder Fathers were very smart with this. The Founding Fathers were the most intelligent about making sure that there were checks and there were balances for each position of political authority, because opportunism and greed of power is human nature. Yeah. And I think that, just being honest, there are many presidents who could have become dictator. Theodore Roosevelt, loved by the people. Teddy, right? Teddy Roosevelt, loved by the people. He could have ran for a third term and probably won. Ran for a fourth term, probably run. Because he was so well loved by the people. But the issue was he promised that he would not run again after second. And he was a man of his word and a man of integrity, and he kept his word, and he didn't run for a third. He never ran for a third term. Now, that's not the common man. Same with George Washington. He could have been dictator for life. The dynasty of George Washington could have begun. But he stepped down, returned to poverty.
Yeah.
Right? Like he chose to not overthrow the democracy, the republic that they fought so hard to have. And Benjamin Franklin quips and says this: "It's yours if you can keep it. This will be yours as long as you can keep it. But as soon as you stop fighting for it, protecting it, defending it, it's gone."
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And, just to kind of transition to another thing, we have, with this election specifically, we have some graphs and maps that we can look at from the previous term to see exactly how this election, what Americans were feeling before this election. And I think that's really important to look at, and more so what Americans were feeling in their pockets. We're looking here now at it's called a post-pandemic economic uncertainty graph. This is from NBC News. Link will be shared below for you to review. You can read all this stuff. But I just want to talk about the graphs because I love graphs. I think they're super weird and cool. And we see, Drew, what are you seeing in this graph? GDP growth post-COVID.
I'm seeing red bars and black lines, and
as long as you're seeing red bars, black lines,
we're good.
Do you see any blue, or are you crazy?
No, there's very little blue, but no,
very little blue. Okay.
So obviously, there's GDP growth around 6% for 2021, but then it just dives in 2022. Now there's a slight increase in 2023 into 2022, but there's a massive dive in 2022.
I'm looking at this and I'm seeing basically the stimulus package that was released to the American people that happened in 2021 really drive growth that year and then gradually fall off as they ended up not releasing a second package in 22. So honestly, what I'm seeing here is because COVID happened in 2020, which is not shown on the graph, but it does it looks like it hits a record high of like 7% here in 2021, right after, I don't have months, but I assume it's after the stimulus checks and the federal tax returns.
Yeah.
And state tax returns. And then continues to drop. And then drops, and then around Christmas shoots back up again right before 2022. And then just I'm looking at this and I'm looking like I'm remembering my wallet during these years.
Yeah.
you know,
definitely.
Because I didn't end up getting a stimulus package. I was a full-time student, so I didn't get one. My parents did.
What was weird is I didn't lose my job, but I got a stimulus package.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You didn't lose. Yeah, you stayed there.
Well, and the other weird part is, it was back in COVID, it was non-essential jobs. They can go home. But how do you classify non-essential? Technically, everything is essential to that person. Like, if your job pays you, it's essential.
Right.
Unless you're a Kardashian, then you're not essential. But
yeah. Shut up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that. Unless you're a Kardashian, you're definitely not essential. That's crazy. Yeah, you got money in the bank from daddy. You're good. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
No, respect.
Respect the drip, Karen. So I'm looking at the unemployment, and honestly, I feel like these numbers are feeling really good. Really good from the Biden administration on unemployment, honestly. I think that they did a good job on that.
I think what people forget is that sometimes what elections can come down to is not necessarily who do you like more in office or not. It's, did the last 4 years make me more money or less money? And the issue with that is that there's so many reasons for this. So we often like blame the head guy, but realistically, like, how much does the head guy actually have control? Well, he has some control, but he can't control everything. So I think, like, I heard 6 months before the actual election that someone was saying it's all down to this one thing. Fish. When I went to the meat market, this guy was saying 4 years ago, fish was $15. Now it's $30. And that's where the election will go down to. And honestly, it's pretty smart and accurate idea.
No, if the cost of living exceeds what you can actually afford, you're going to vote for the guy whose cost of living was less, COVID or not.
Even if you don't like him, you'll still do it.
You'll still do it because it was better for you in the sense of you could actually live your life.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a joke in our generation, Drew, like live your best life, you know, like, but like seriously, like I was paying $1.97 for gas, like less than $2 for a gallon.
Yeah.
And now in California, that's unheard of, like at all. Cause there's 60-cent taxes and then a road tax and everything else added to the, I'm not joking, man. It's crazy here.
Jeez.
We need to crack the supermajority in California. That's for sure. But just looking, you know, back on my experience as a college student, even this graph that I'm showing on screen right now, I felt that. Like the inflation got so bad. 1.4%, height 9.1, and then where we're at in April 2023, which it's no longer April 2023, it's now 2024.
But another thing to consider is that good inflation is in what the government tries to reach is not 0%, it's actually 2%. So you want some inflation because a little bit of inflation is an incentive for people to not store their money but to go spend it. The worst thing that you can actually have is deflation or 0% inflation, because then it's more valuable to hold on to your money. Then there's this cascading effect where people don't buy things, which means that the economy grinds down to a halt because they're afraid that if they hold on to if they buy something, their money will become less valuable. So realistically, like when we talk about inflation and stuff like that, sometimes people think like, well, we have some inflation, that's bad. It's like, no. We need controlled inflation. So when it got down to like 9%, that is a historic high in the last 20 years. But what we're targeting is not 0. It's 2%.
Right.
That's the goal.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. You don't want zero inflation.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. But too high. It's a balancing act by the Fed.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if they go too far on the deep end, which they did, the federal government went too far on the deep end, 9.1%. Some of it was out of their control. You get 2022.
Yeah.
Into 2023. And then just the last graph we can look at here, March and April. I assume this is from 23. I'm not seeing a date on it. But you can see how Americans are feeling. The numbers don't lie. People do.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to get excited for the next person coming in or be sad about it when you feel like there will not be a future.
For a lot of Americans, because of the last 4 years, there is no future for them.
Yeah.
They're piled on debt. They've done what they had to do to survive. But the sad reality is they're going to have to keep surviving until they can get out of debt, until they can get into a good financial place to actually thrive in America, which is sad to say, but very true. And I'm just being realistic here. I'm not trying to be mean or not trying to be, I'm just being realistic. Some people's lives are over for the next 5 to 10 years while they pile out of debt. And if they really dedicate themselves, they can do it quicker.
Well, and some people get into debt because of like poor money management. Some people, they just get a crappy hand for the last like year, and that's why they're in debt. But one thing I've learned that you learn in economics is confidence. It really matters. So remember when that one bank in California collapsed? I think it was like
It was like a
Silicon
Central Valley
Bank.
Bank, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Silicon Valley, yeah. That happened like last year.
Yep. Yeah. So the worst thing you can do is, and this is what the news sources were doing, they were basically saying, well, a lot more banks are going to fail. Like, you need to be ready for that. That's the worst thing you can do, because what causes a bank run isn't a bad economy, it's a lack of confidence. So when people don't have confidence in a bank, they all run to get the money. And even if the bank has money in their system, but they don't have all of it right there, they become illiquid. And that causes more panic and fear, and then more bank runs. So like that's partially what happened in 1929. Some of it was also just, bad spending, over amounts of debt, defaulting on loans, a lot of that. But bank runs were caused by a lack of confidence. So that's another thing. Like, having just confidence that things will get better actually solves a lot of weird economic problems. And it's funny how that it works like that.
Yeah, I think I don't know enough about the subject to comment on how bank runs work. I don't. You've presented some really solid information there. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
And educate myself further. Listen, I don't know a lot, but what I do know, I'm very passionate about. So
yeah. So I feel like after we talk about the political atmosphere, we could transition to economic, which is what we did, and then we can transition to, because we're both Christians, so we can talk about some of the church stuff. And I'm actually going to take it a different direction than we originally planned, because there's a very large church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, named Transformation Church, and the lead pastor there is, I guess he's like a superstar pastor, excellent speaker, very animated, really. Their church is really good with like helping the community. They've grown really fast in the last 10 years. Well, lead guy helped with making a worship album, but it's like a combination of R&B and rap. And on a Sunday, they released the entire album on a Sunday service. Did you know anything about this?
No, I didn't hear anything about this.
So you ready to see it?
Yeah.
I got it queued up. It honestly, bro, it's kind of crazy. So check this out.
He has no wins, all losses. He's already been defeated. He is Satan. But in the right corner, seated at the right hand of God, he is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end.
This is a church service, not a Kanye service.
He has always no losses. He's the undefeated champion of the world. He is TC, lift up a shout like you lost your mind if you serve the undefeated champion.
Well, then check this out. So
ready to praise the name Jesus. Let's go.
It gets crazy, man.
We say there is no way he can lose.
Let me see if I can find like the actual clip. But basically, dude, they pull out a Tesla, a Cybertruck. They have a guy rapping on the Cybertruck as it's going through the crowd, and it looks like a boxing arena, like when they do a pre-show and everyone's going insane for the big fight. That's what it looks like.
Can I just share something with you?
Yes.
Have you seen the Instagram reels of the guy who's like megachurch? He's like megachurch intern here. I'm in the green room today.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So that sounds like one of his videos where it's like he's a pastor and he's like, but I need a private jet because I got to show God's faithfulness. But I need a podcast so I can influence more people for Christ. Like, that's what that sounds like. I hope they freaking returned that Cybertruck or had it donated to use and gave it back. Because that is wild. I can't with that. This is my take, and maybe it's because I'm a boomer. I don't know. But that seems like a complete waste of church resources.
Yeah.
Now, I like that you open the story up with talking about how much they do for the community, because that does make it better for me, knowing that this is not just all that they do. Still, that's crazy.
The funny thing is, the arguments that I've actually heard is like, here's the irritating thing. to me, okay, personally, as someone that's a creative, that is incredible. Like, that is
Right.
truly insane.
No,
And
it is. It's cool.
It's at that level the entire time. Like, on a creative level, it is at, and the music is excellent.
But is that but as a believer, is that where is the church where that should be presented?
Is it Sunday service where that should be presented?
Exactly.
That's the question. And then the other issue is, let's say you're not sure. Is it wrong? Because I think those are two different questions. I think the question is that something that you should do on a Sunday service?
Yeah.
No. Is it wrong to do it on a Sunday service? I lean towards probably not, if that's like not a norm. But I also I feel I see both sides here. I'm curious about your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so the way that I lean is just it's hard to get over. It's hard. I'll say this. Jesus says, "My house will be a house of prayer." That is not that. That is not prayer. That does not seem, it does not, you're right, it doesn't seem wrong. It's glorifying Jesus. He's undefeated. Okay, nothing wrong with that statement whatsoever. Nothing wrong even, I think, with doing it with a Cybertruck. But on a Sunday service, I do have an issue with that. The Lord's Day.
All right, I found the Cybertruck. You ready for this?
Okay, just pull it up. See how extravagant this goes.
Run it up, PK finish. Yeah, make some noise. Brother, Alex G. Hey, can't you see how we flow like the wall?
Okay, you don't have to wait, son.
Here we gave me the juice like a charger.
So I gave it to you.
Turn it off.
We're just driving the Cybertruck.
Once again, the
turn it
way
off.
free. We'll flow like a man in the sea. You can see what we do in the sea. Now we got
Drew, turn it off. I'm done. Done watching that. That's no. That's a mockery. That's where I lean. That's disrespectful.
Here's where I'm
towards
conflicted,
Jesus.
okay? I'm conflicted because I feel like in some ways that is both a mockery as well as it is incredible. We need more of that.
But that's the problem. You don't need more of that on a Sunday morning.
That's the issue.
If you are a new believer coming into that church, or if you are a non-believer coming into that church that Sunday morning, that's not worship. That's a show.
Yeah, and the other question,
and we've had
is
conversations before about that, like show versus worship, everything else in between.
Well, oftentimes, like, a lot of these churches become so insular with what they're doing. Like, they're not thinking like, well, if there's a brand new person that walks in that's had issues with the church, that's questioning about their faith, what do they think about this? And I'll be honest, like, I can't answer that because I've been a Christian for a very long time. I've worked in church, so I feel like my opinion on this is biased. But
if the church, I can tell you exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I got saved in 2016. It's 2024. It's been about 8 years. I think I can comment on this still from a fairly unsaved perspective. I would say, oh, great. This is another concert. What's different about this from where I used to go?
Yeah.
Nothing. I lean so hard against that.
Well, and you know what, we've also talked about like defining the win. So like one thing you can do, this is random life advice for like the one person in Thailand that's actually watching this. The one thing that you can do to help feel better about yourself, to move forward with your life, is define your win. And the idea of it is oftentimes like we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing. And we've talked about this, like, what's the win of an event? Is the win of an event to showcase the album? Well, if it seems like that is what it is, they succeeded in that. Is the win of that event to bring in new people? If so, were they successful? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Just speaking from my own perspective here, personally, I see that as I can't even articulate it. That's just disgusting.
So let me ask you this. Okay.
I can't even. That's just bad. Like,
Does
that's
it
just bad
change it
pastoring.
if they have a gospel presentation at the end?
I'm checked out by then. I need Jesus on the front.
Okay, if they have a gospel presentation on the front.
I think that, yeah, but also not just a gospel presentation, but they need to justify why they did what they did and explain that. Not just do it and then let people forget about it. I think that is wrong.
Yeah, and then
you need to be like, hey, listen, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Like, if I'm an outsider and I just came in and I saw that, and then I just heard about Jesus after, I'm like, okay, cool.
One of these things is not like the other, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, and if I actually read the Bible as a non-believer and I was a skeptic or I was an atheist and I knew what Christianity stood for, I would not think that was Jesus. I would not think that these people live the way that they want to live or the way that they say that they live. I don't know if that's just, maybe I'm a judgmental Christian now. I don't know. Maybe I'm a humbug. I don't know. But I can tell you this, man. Whether it's right or wrong, Jesus will tell them at the end of the time.
Yeah.
My personal view is I wouldn't do it.
Well, I think another way to phrase this conversation is less about like, is it right or wrong? And more of, is this the most effective use of our time? And is this the best optics that we can put out? Because like, if obviously, like, as someone that has a lot of interests in a lot of different things, like, I think there's nothing wrong with, you know, a guy that's really successful leading a church, wanting to do his own, do something else. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, especially because oftentimes what people don't realize is pastors basically make nothing, except for a very set few that are terrible people that steal money from poor people by telling them if they give money, they'll be rich or their problems will be solved. Most pastors are absolutely underpaid. So I have no issue with like a pastor or a person of faith trying to do other things that they really like and it gives them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say, like, was that the wisest thing to make that a Sunday service? No. If I was in those shoes,
midweek,
which I'll never be,
put it on the midweek.
I'm not going to make, an album, but if I was in those shoes, I would do it off of church campus somewhere else, not on a Sunday.
But here's the thing. I think that even you could justify that being a midweek thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's the saints coming together for a midweek encouragement / being fed or being taught something to make them more effective at what they do. And I think that's totally justifiable. I think you could totally justify doing that on a midweek. But on a Sunday morning where it's known you're coming to church, if you're a non-believer, I feel like this is fairly well known. If you come to church, you'll hear about Jesus on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then to walk into that's where I draw the line. That's where I'm like, okay, I would be fine with it being a midweek even, just not Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I would do it. I'll be honest with you. I think I would do it on a midweek. Like if I was to ever do something like that, I think that would be a midweek thing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to take a full hour.
Oh, no, that's not a full hour. That's 3 hours, man.
That's 3 hours?
Yeah, they had
it's
documentary of like making it. They had people speaking on it. Yeah.
Oh, so it's celebrity. It's just about celebrity now.
And you know what's the hard thing for me personally? I know people behind the scenes, not at Transformation Church, but I hear people talk. Apparently, Mike Todd's a great guy.
I don't doubt it.
That's the hard part.
I just disagree with the method.
Yeah, I think it would be easier if he was some piece of crap.
Yeah.
Or like
he's not. Yeah, he's not. I agree. I've heard some things that Mike Todd is a great pastor. I'm talking about from my perspective, from my life experience, which I don't have as much as him. Okay, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not here saying yes or no to either, but that's wild. Don't know what else to say other than that's wild. It's crazy. That's a crazy Sunday service. 3 hours, one service.
Yeah.
How many times do they do it? Twice? 3 times?
They only do it twice.
But still, 3 hour service. That's long.
It's a long service, man. Well, that one might have been.
And
once,
you're saying,
I don't know.
and you're saying, put the gospel presentation at the end. Yeah, right, brother.
So, I guess we can end it right there. But I thought that was a great episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.